Can you elaborate a little more on what exactly you mean by like toxic?
Where do I start, Sona? I feel like we just opened a can of worms. It's like 5 minutes into the podcast. So I like to go all in. Like I have a lot of passion, and I think for running, I just fell head over heels for it, and I just kind of quickly associated myself with running, and for a while, my whole identity just became running. So it was all I was posting about on social media. It was all I was talking about to my friends. But then what further exacerbated this was that I actually became a Nike Run Club pacer. And when you become a Nike Run Club pacer, like there's an expectation that you post about, Nike running. Like we had communication strategies and stuff about what to post, and it just kind of became my identity. And it was all well and good when I was, racing really well and, you know, age group victories and stuff like that. But on the flip side, when things weren't going well, you just had this perception, in that little tunnel vision of yours that like everyone's looking at you and weighing up your worth based off your results, which is obviously not true. But in the moment, when you're in that bubble, in that little tunnel of yours, you just see it as very binary, very black and white. And if I succeed, like I'm a great person, I'm doing well. And if I don't succeed, then I'm not very good, or people will think lowly of me. So that happened for a couple of years. It actually took a DNF in Hong Kong to recognize that I need to change my relationship with running. And I feel as if now being a little bit older, I think I mentioned I'm 28, and being a couple of years removed from some of the university running societies that I was very involved in when I was in uni, I see the same thing happening to a couple of these individuals. But it's all about self-reflection and getting to a point where you can say, I need to think about running in a healthier way, have a healthy obsession with it, and go from there. The process that I went through to kind of go through it, like I went through to a really dark spot. I think I might be touching a little bit too briefly just on like the toxicity that it did have.
Yeah.
And what kind of happened was I got my I did a couple of UTAs, then I said, let's take this international. Let's go over to Hong Kong and race this really hard 115 kilometer race, which was like a totally different sort of setting to ultra trails. UTA 100 by itself is already difficult, but you fly into Hong Kong and you're surrounded by mountains. And these mountains start at zero, at sea level, and they come up to six, seven, 800. And I went into there, and the first year I DNF'd. I just took a really bad fall, almost fell off a cliff, and kind of got shooken up and said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm just gonna, I'd rather just be safe. So I stopped, and then for a whole year, and I think I was still involved with Nike at this point, but for a whole year, all I obsessed about was coming back to this race and finishing it. And everyone knew it. It was no secret to everyone that I had unfinished business. It was no secret to everyone that I DNF'd. I was very clear about that. And people would often lead when we would go and catch up. The first thing that they would do, and this is the first warning sign, is they would say, "Hey Daniel, how's running?" And I'd be like, "Running's good, but I'm good too. Like, how are you, man?" And that was the first warning sign. So yeah, for the whole year, I just kind of dedicated my craft to trying to get better, so I can come back and finish this race. And then I go back, best shape of my life, and I DNF again in a very similar spot. Um, I just got my nutrition wrong. It was a really hot day, but I remember just feeling so sorry for myself, coming off that mountain and just being for the second consecutive year having to be called off and, have my friend's dad pick me up. And because, I'd invested so much of myself in that race, in my identity as a runner, I just felt like the biggest failure. And I went to a really, really dark place. And to be quite frank, like I kind of just shut off from running for a little for a while, and kind of said like, I think I'm done. I just want to be Daniel for a little while. I took a little time off just to reflect and try to come up with a better way that I can do this, because I still loved running, but I just didn't like the way that I saw myself with it. So after a couple of months off, I kind of just started running again. I think that was around the time when I decided to part ways with Nike Run Club, and I think it was for the best.